are broadcasting. The channel is live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Adventure on So Many Levels. We're going to play Root.
Yay!
Yay!
I need a slightly more extended way to say that. The cadence of it feels off. You know, Dungeons and Dragons is longer. It kind of, there's a rhythm to it.
Yeah.
I'm Christiana Ellis, and I'm the Dungeon Master, or the Game Master in this case. Our players tonight, Paul Weimer playing Arban Ironwing.
Good, bad. I'm the one with the blue sword.
Nobilis playing Lancelot Vent.
Hi there.
How you doing?
How you doing?
Yeah. Lee Burdett playing Peppa Pika.
Hello, hello, hello.
David Archambault playing Nigel Farnboot.
Could you direct me to the library?
We are also waiting on Jason Banks, who will be playing Clem Sparrow, but we're hoping that he will be able to join us shortly. In the meantime, though, I think that it is just about time for us to begin our adventure of Root, the role-playing game, a game of might and right in the woodlands. Is everyone excited?
Yay!
Yes.
Great. So, here's the first thing that we're going to do. Having made our characters previously in session 0, we now know who you all are and what you're doing as we begin. So, the very first move I'm going to ask you all to make is a travel move called Travel Along the Path, because you are traveling from the clearing of Ironvein to the clearing of Sundell. So here's the question that you must answer for this travel move. Are you traveling at a relaxing pace, at an average pace, safely, quickly, and under the radar, or urgently fast?
I think, does that sound like would be safely, quickly, and under the radar? Yeah.
Well,
I don't feel like depleting supplies right away. I think, well, they all deplete supplies, don't they?
well,
Okay.
it's
No,
basically because
slowly does not. Slowly, everyone clears to depletion.
No.
That's a mi-
no, you're wrong. So you don't confuse it with traveling through the forest.
Oh, I am confusing it. You're right.
Because one of the options when you're traveling through the forest is to be foraging along the way, and that allows you to clear depletion, which is a representation of how well supplied you are.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: you're traveling. Traveling takes resources that you're sort of spending along the way, because it's important to understand that the woodland is, relatively speaking, big. It takes a couple of days to travel from one clearing to another, even
All right,
along
yep.
a path.
Yep.
I think safely, quickly, and under the radar is the right one, because it all costs something,
Mm-hmm.
and that one costs the same as an average pace, but gets us a +1 on the roll. So
Okay.
yeah.
Although
I
I would encourage you, and this is something that I think will be true going forward, we're going to try to make an effort to have this be fiction first in general. And so, without saying that you shouldn't consider these things, because let's try to frame them in the fiction, in the sense
I think,
of, you know,
yeah, I think that the safely and under the radar actually works in the fiction, because if we are having left a clearing expeditiously, then we want to. I think Iron Vein. We decided we were leaving Iron Vein a
Yeah.
little bit hot footing it out.
Time to go.
It's yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was just time to go. And so, once we make it over the bridge, then,
Right.
it's time to, be careful.
Right. So, from the perspective of, you're not expecting pursuers, but that's why you left quickly. And so
Yeah.
as a result, you are, heading along through. So as the rule does dictate, you're each all going to, so collectively marking one depletion. All of you have boxes of depletion, and what this means is not that you all mark one. It means that among the party, one has to be marked. So it means that any one of you can be essentially the one who's footing the bill, so to speak, for the travel snacks.
I'll take that.
Okay. And so what that means now is that you're going to make a roll with 2d6, and you're going to add +1 for this approach to the travel. And I believe, go ahead.
I was going to say, does my traveler extraordinaire
Does.
fit?
Yes, and because you don't have any exhaustion right now, probably you'll want to contribute the +1 to the roll, I would guess.
Yes.
And what this represents is just that Peppa is she travels all the time. She's just got a feel for it. She knows how to avoid the pitfalls. She knows when to make camp for the night. She just makes everything a little easier because she knows what she's doing.
Okay. So since I was rolling the depletion, I'll roll the dice.
Okay.
So I get +2 then? on
That's
this?
correct. Yes. +1 for your approach and +1 for Peppa's expertise.
Rolled an 11 for a total of 13. So that
That's
is
pretty good. And so on a 10 plus, the trip is uninterrupted and quick. You do not run into any difficulties. You have a good time. You enjoy yourselves even maybe. But here's where I'm going to ask one more group question, which is, what time is it, do you think, that you are approaching Sundell itself? When are you arriving in that given day?
dusk.
Dusk? Okay. All right.
Yeah, sun on our backs, nice
Sure.
lengthening shadows in front of us. Very cinematic.
Yes, absolutely. So, it's an uphill walk much of the way from Iron Vein to Sundell. But then you crest a ridge of hills, and the valley that gives Sundell its name is revealed before you. The trees give way to lush fields full of crops ready to harvest. All manner of vegetables and grains near you, with fruit orchards in the distance. Beyond a charming village that rests in a pool of golden light. It's no wonder that crops grow so well here. It seems a blessed land, and so far it is largely untouched by the wars beginning to ravage clearings elsewhere. Compared to the rocky mines and steep grades of Iron Vein, Sundell seems almost idyllic, if a bit provincial. Looking around the town, you don't think you see a single building less than 30 years old, and many of them much older than that. The one exception seems to be under construction on the northern edge of town. But everything else here conveys peaceful, lived-in wear and long-standing traditions. So I would like each of you, as you're traveling down the road, you've crested the ridge, you're walking downhill now, it's easy again, coming downhill into town. Glad to see it, you've arrived at last, and I would like each of you to give us a brief description of your character and their current emotional state as they have arrived at Sundell.
All right. Nigel is a capybara, furry, furry face, kind of squarish head, and he has a staff in one hand, but curled around in his other arm, and a very unbothered expression. And he sees how old the buildings are and knows, oh, this is a place where I can find plenty of history to study.
Very nice.
By contrast, Arban is a Amur Falcon. He's wearing Empire that would be the Irie Empire from outside of this area. Armor, he's militaristic. He's very straight shouldered and bearing. He's probably guarding the back of the party because that's what he's used to doing, making sure that everybody is out and safe. So when he crosses the valley and sees the town, his first things is he's looking at the roads, he's looking at the ways in and out, he's looking at is how do we get in and out of this town? Is it defensible? If war and privation come here, where will it come from? He's looking at it with the tactical bird's eye, as it were, from the height that they're at.
Very nice. Lancelot?
Lancelot Vent is sauntering along. He never walks when he can saunter. With a staff leaned nonchalantly over his shoulder. He is whistling a tune that the rest of the vagabonds have heard 1,000 times before, but it doesn't matter because he makes it work even in those situations. And he's probably out in front of the group because he's enthusiastic about finding out what's in this new town and not terribly concerned about what might go wrong.
Very nice.
Um,
Did you
I
say
think
you were a
pa-
fox? Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Yeah.
cut
Oh,
you off.
yes. A fox, tall and lean, and very well put together, and wearing a fancy embroidered woolen cape, which is the only fancy thing he's wearing. The rest of his clothes are kind of ragged, but he is quite proud of that embroidered cloak.
Very nice.
Peppa is probably she doesn't really know where she wants to be in the pack as they're moving. Does she want to be up front and get a good view? Does she want to be in the back and take a look around at what's going on? Does she want to be up above them? So she's kind of all over the place. She's also trying to whistle quietly along to Lancelot's tune because otherwise it just gets stuck in her head. And I think the most notable thing that she's wearing is a hat with the little ears and then the pom-pom on the top in reds and oranges, which she's a magpie, which completely conflicts with every other color that she's wearing.
Very nice. And so I think under the circumstances, you had been planning to travel with your friend that you made, Clem Sparrow, that you this turtle tinker that you encountered in Iron Vein and had some adventures with, but you got separated at one point, and you're expecting him along sometime soon. But for now, you're arriving into Sundell. It's dusk. You are descending into the valley, and so the sun is not long to pass below that horizon. You have been on the road for a while, and so I imagine you might be looking for a place that you wouldn't have to sleep under the outside again. You have a roof to sleep under would be nice. Maybe you're looking for work. What are you looking for as you come into Sundell?
I would prefer to have a comfortable place to sleep for once.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking around for something on the order of a tavern or some other public house that is here in this clearing. Some place where people gather, some place that I can make something of an impression.
Sure, sure. It is relatively easy for you to locate the building in question because it's, first of all, the largest building in town by a significant margin, which isn't to say it's terribly large. This is not a overly built clearing. Lots of farms. But there is one big building that seems to have been two separate buildings that either were always intended to connect or it's an accident of starting them too close to one another, but they definitely share a wall despite being two different buildings. One of them looks a bit like a town hall. It's got a big set of fairly nicely carved double doors up front that are currently closed. You don't see light in the windows, but it definitely gives you the feeling of sort of a government type of building. The other half of the building is much more active, and part of the reason it's so easy to find beyond the size is that this time of day is when a lot of people are finishing their work for today and heading on into the tavern, which here is apparently named the Lumpy Tuber.
The lumpy
Wow.
tuber?
The Lumpy
That's
Tuber.
where I am headed.
Their government building is next to their tavern. That reminds me of a story, but perhaps I will save it for another time.
And let me be clear, there's no alley in between. They literally share a wall. So they you're all heading inside?
Mm,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
You definitely get some looks because the other people here in the tavern are definitely regulars who know who's from this clearing and who's not. And mostly the way to divide that group right now is that all of the rest of them are from this clearing and you're not.
What's the mix of anthropomorphic animals in this?
Sure, sure.
area?
So it is mostly foxes, but there are a wide variety of others, including birds. There's a couple of beavers that you see. There's a chipmunk over there. There's a raccoon in the corner, and everyone has kind of tables. You see that there is a big table in the corner where there's a handful of older denizens that are definitely like that's their table and it's where they hold court. You get the impression looking over there that it's the sort of place where at least one or two of them are probably there all day. Not the sense that each one is there in any given position all day, but someone's there all day.
I look around for someone who looks like they're in charge of the place,
Okay.
a proprietor of some
Mhm.
kind. Might be over at the table, might be
Mhm.
behind the bar, but I'm going to try and spot who's in charge.
Sure, sure. There's
I can-
definitely.
Yeah, I don't want to have to ask if I can avoid it.
Okay, yeah, no, it's obvious. There is a barkeep over there who is taking orders for both ales and apparently they have wine here, which is unusual, but it makes sense given that there are some vineyards as part of Sundel's whole area. But usually wine is something that's imported from far away. So even here, it's still relatively fancy. But they're also taking orders for food, and there is a cardinal wearing an apron, cleaning one of the glasses, and certainly look as you meet their eye, they're looking like they saw you as soon as you came in, and they assumed you'd be coming to them, so they're just waiting for you to come over.
Going to saunter up to the bar
Mhm.
and say, proprietor, I am Lancelot Vent, spokesman, as you might say, of our little band of adventurers. And we have
Vagabonds.
just,
Let's use the terminology vagabonds, if that's all right.
well,
Right.
he's trying to lend the group a bit of
Sure.
authority that perhaps they
Okay.
don't deserve.
Okay, fair enough. He said, so you say adventurers, and he kind of cocks his head and says, "You mean vagabonds?"
Well, that's the technical term. In any case, we have just arrived from Iron Vein and thought that and I believe that your customers might like to hear some of the news and gossip from Iron Vein in an entertaining manner. And I would be willing to provide that in exchange for a bit to eat.
He's looking at you a little bit skeptically. Perhaps you would like to persuade an
Persuade.
NPC?
I think that is exactly what I'm trying to do.
Yes. So this is once again you are rolling 2d6. In this case, you are rolling with your charm modifier.
All right. I rolled a 5. My charm is +2, which makes it 7.
Okay, so on a 7 to 9, they aren't sure. So he looks a little skeptical and he says, "Entertaining manner, you say? Let's see how entertaining it is, and then I'll decide how much that's worth afterwards."
All right. So I will tell him a bit of gossip from Iron Vein about the story I heard about the miller's daughter and the blacksmith's son, and see how he goes for that.
Okay. So I think that some gossip of that nature is definitely interesting to him. So he's like, yeah, all right. I mean, what are you thinking? Are you just gonna like stand up on a table or something? It's what do you have in mind here? I mean, we don't really
Well,
get bards through
I-
here.
I'm sorry, I missed what you said.
We don't really get bards through here.
Well, I consider myself more of a, well, I don't have an instrument. So, I think it's just a gossip monger is good enough for today, at least.
Well, so I guess what I'm trying to make sure I understand is, are you talking about like doing a performance, or are you talking
Yeah.
about sitting in a corner and gossiping with whoever's at the table?
No, I'm talking about making a performance.
Okay, well, in that case, when I asked him, so he's saying, I need to see my money's worth, my value's worth, before I promise anything.
Okay. Well, what I was trying, yeah, what I was
Because
trying
I like
to-
hearing gossip, but I want to know, I want to see you sell some drinks for me.
All right, all right. How about this? If you like my performance, then feed us, and if you don't, then that's fine. Okay. So I will step up to the fireplace,
Mhm.
alongside the fireplace, and I'm already fairly tall, but I'll kick over the stool that whoever it is that tends the fire usually sits on, and stand up on it,
Mm-hmm.
and worthy citizens of and my character remembers the name of the town, but I don't.
Sundell.
Sundell.
Sundell. Lend me your ears. I bring you news of our most recent travels in Iron Vein, and I am going to scatter the news, which is true. And now some of the truth is I heard stories that may or may not be true, but the truth is that I did hear the story,
Mm-hmm.
and things that happened, and intersperse it with jokes and some lighthearted. And first thing I want to do is like read the room and figure out who the people that I want to suck up to are,
Mm-hmm.
and who the people that I might be able to play a joke on and they'll be okay
Sure.
with it, or at least
Yeah.
the crowd will be okay with it.
Okay.
So
Yeah, so I think that this maybe is sort of like a collective figure someone out move.
yeah.
So as you are kind of just doing general presentation stuff, you're trying to get a sense, you're doing some crowd work and figuring out who are these folks here. So that would be another roll with charm.
Okay. All right. I rolled a 7 plus 2 is 9.
Okay, so on a 7 to 9, you're holding 1, which basically means that there's a list of questions that you would ordinarily be able to ask a specific person, but you can kind of revise those as feels right for what you're trying to do here.
Yeah. Okay. So what I'd like to do is find, just kind of in reading the room,
Mm-hmm.
find out who there is is mainly figure out like who is the person I can make a little fun of
Mm-hmm.
and get the crowd on my side with it. Uh, Either in the sense of someone who is generally good natured and will like go along with a gag, or else someone who's not generally considered a grump in the group, and I can make them the butt of a joke without incurring the wrath of the entire community.
Okay.
So Lancelot's not punching down, as it were.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you definitely get a sense looking at this room that this circle, this big table that I mentioned in the corner, like that's where the people in town who like whose opinions matter more than everybody else's sit. You know,
Right.
they're a little older, they look a little more well off. You would guess they what they give you the impression of, like your gut reaction looking at them, is it looks like a town council that has adjourned for the day and come over to the tavern. That sort of vibe. But
Okay.
having been through Sundell before, you know that ostensibly there's not really a town council. There's kind of an informal collection of folks who are polled, but there's a mayor who's ostensibly in charge. But
Right.
that's the vibe you get from the people at this table, is that they're the people who are like,
Right.
you know,
Okay.
they're the people who you need permission from to do anything meaningful. And in particular, there's an old cranky badger who's got a hay grass stalk in her corner of her mouth, and she looks like she's a little bit of a crusty old farmer, but who can have a sense of humor about herself.
Okay. Okay. So I don't have much to go on aside from these appearances, but yeah, I'm going to intersperse. And actually, once I've kind of gotten the lay of the land, I'll walk in between the tables and try and just entertain folks, and but to use a little bit of flattery. It's like, you there, the lovely young lady in the corner over there. You reminded me of this, that, and kind of butter her up a little bit.
Okay.
And in fact, I have a move called Pleasant Facade. When you suck up to or butter up an unsuspecting NPC, roll charm.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, you are already, in this case, I think, because of the nature of your previous roll, you don't need to roll again to
Okay.
succeed in this, because you identified the person who would be receptive to this.
right. All right.
Yeah, so I'm saying it will work. You don't have to do another move for this.
Okay. Well, do I then get a hold with her?
Oh,
From the-
well, okay. I mean, if
yeah.
you want something other than, you can tease this person and get the room on your side. If you want something
Yeah,
more
okay.
than that,
All
then
right. My first thing I want is to get our party fed. So I
Okay.
want to what kind of role do you want for persuading the to get people laughing, basically. I want to get
Sure.
people
No,
laughing.
I think that's what I interpreted your last roll was, is that you found the
Okay.
person you could do that with, and
Okay.
and yeah, so you don't have to then move again for
Okay.
that. But
All right. So after I finish my routine, I'll go back over to the bar
Yeah.
and just kind of lean on it with a
Well, so
with a
while-
confident look on my face.
while you're
Okay.
up there doing that, what are the
Okay.
rest of you getting up to? Are you just standing by with your fingers crossed, hoping that Lancelot doesn't mess it up, or what are you thinking?
Nigel, when he enters the inn, he surveys the crowd carefully, taking stock of the number and types of people, and then he walks directly to a place fairly close to the fire, probably right next to where
Lancelot.
Lancelot would stand on the stool, and then just takes out a book and just starts making notes.
Okay. Yeah, I would imagine, Lancelot, you're up there doing your thing, and you just kind of notice Nigel like come over and just sort of sit down next to you at your feet and start reading, which
Why,
yeah.
I fear he would be there by the time this
Yeah,
Lancelot
I'm
started.
just saying that all of everyone in this room knows that the four of you are out of towners.
Ah.
So I'm just saying everything that any of you do is of interest to the people here, and they will notice you sitting reading a book at the feet of Lancelot as he does the whole routine. That's my point.
Okay.
So you're not blending in. Everyone knows
Yeah.
you're from out of town.
Yeah, and Lancelot
not
makes a
trying.
couple of book puns at the moment that
Sure.
he comes in.
Yeah. Peppa?
Hmm. I think Peppa wants to help out as much as she can, but she doesn't have a lot of charm going for her. What she does have is the finesse to get between the tables with a pitcher of beer to do refills.
Well, okay. I mean, you're what? You're doing tavern work? I mean, what is the idea here?
Yeah. That was kind of my idea was that she would
Help sell drinks by offering.
yeah
refills.
basically help sell refills.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, there is a little beaver teenager who looks like they have an apron on, and it looks like that's their job. And as soon as you start picking up pictures, he's looking at you like, "What are you doing?"
Oh, I was just trying to help.
Well, usually how it works is you go and buy drinks at the bar.
Oh, okay. Excuse
You know,
me.
leftovers.
Sorry.
I think it's one thing at the end of the night if you want to try to, claim the empties, but
Yeah.
you know,
I'll just put them back up put what I grabbed and put them up on the bar and
Okay.
just kind of stand in a corner and twiddle my feathers.
okay. Like, so, I mean, you can help. I'm just saying that, like, I'm imagining if you went to a restaurant and started bussing tables, they would look at you like that's a weird thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Peppa's just enthusiastic.
I'm-
to
Oh,
help.
sure. No, I'm just
Yeah.
saying you get that reaction is all. They're
Yeah,
keeping
no,
an eye on you,
it's
like-
it yeah, you've never seen feathers turn red that fast.
Okay. Yeah. So this tavern does look like they are staffed. They
Okay.
don't really, they're not in need of that necessarily. In fact,
Okay.
it looks like this is their regular crowd. So they're not busy. This is every night.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you get a little bit of a strange look.
Okay.
And a suggestion: if you want a drink, they're at the bar. Otherwise, let me do my thing.
Okay.
All right.
I apologize.
Well, that's okay. But it's my thing. I kind of like.
Okay.
All right. He's still like watching you, like.
Yeah.
What's this strange person gonna do next?
She's like I said, she's just standing against the wall twiddling her feathers.
Okay. So are you trying to make them like feel bad for
No.
telling you to stop? Okay.
No, it's just like she was trying to help. It backfired.
Well,
Hey.
all right. So what about you, Arbin?
Arbin will finish by going over to Peppa because Peppa's in the corner feeling not so great to give her some emotional support. But before then, he noticed that the town hall is right next to this tavern. He sees the farmers, he sees the table, he's trying to suss up who's in charge here, who is something more than just a farmer, trying to get a sense of what is the town of Sundale's deal, who he should be watching out for as ally, antagonist, etc. Are there any spies in the market here? He's basically doing reconnaissance as he always does.
Okay.
He's not the charming one, he's the observant one.
All right. Well, I would say that in general, this tavern is not an especially tense situation right now. Although there is an underlying tension, you can get the feeling that there's some people who've got some worries here in the room tonight. So let's have you go ahead and do the read a tense situation roll, which
And what
is
stat
you're
is
rolling
that?
with cunning.
Cunning. Okay. So that is a 9.
Okay, so on a 9, you get to ask one question. There's a list of questions there on the move, but you can also, like, if you have a specific other question, you can ask it. Like, what sort of information are you looking to get about this place?
Let's see. Let's look at the move real quick.
Well, so questions are like, what's my best
What,
way?
yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah. What should I be on the lookout for? That's always a
Okay.
good one for these sorts of games.
Yeah, I think in this case, most of the people here seem like they're here to forget their ordinary troubles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think you should be on the lookout for the people who seem to have more than the ordinary amount of troubles and thus perhaps are less successfully forgetting about them.
Okay. So yeah, he will finish this by going over to Peppa, putting a wing over her shoulder and saying, "Your enthusiasm is appreciated by some."
It's okay. It's okay. It's it'll be okay.
It will be all right. We'll see if Lancelot will get us food and board or not.
So,
Food at
Lance,
least.
Lancelot, as you come back over, you had shared, I think, perhaps more gossipy stuff than he had kind of thought. He assumed that you were doing more of like, here's the news from Iron Vein, as opposed to here are these people that you haven't heard of, and the ins and outs that they had.
Okay.
However, it was entertaining nonetheless. And so he says, I
Okay.
suppose that's worth dinner and a few drinks.
Thank you very much. I shall, the next town we go to, I shall sing your praises.
Well, I appreciate that. I can't help but think that what most people around here wanted to hear about is they heard that Grand Duchy is taking Iron Vein. Is that true?
I will tell him the truth about whether the Duchy has taken Iron
Yes.
Vein.
The answer is yes. That was part of the situation that you were fleeing as you left Iron Vein. It wasn't directly connected to the incident which had you in a hurry, but it was certainly happening at that time. The Grand Duchy and the moles therein have definitely taken control of the town, the clearing of Iron Vein.
Well, I mean, I think I would have actually been telling the news when I was doing my routine.
Okay. So in that case, then certainly he is
Yeah.
not. So he decides, he takes your order basically.
Yeah.
Asks if you are looking for a roof to sleep under. We got here in, here in the Lumpy Tuber, we got a handful of rooms. There's only 2 beds each. You can make do with that, or you can pay to just have a place by the hearth once things settle down.
I think the latter was probably fit our budgets better. But let me talk to my friends over dinner and see what they think.
All right. So you've each essentially got 2 drink tickets and a meal voucher.
So what's the food like in Sundell?
Well, it's pretty good compared to a lot of places because they have a lot of fresh produce to work with that doesn't have to travel very far. And so things are very fresh compared to what you're used to. There's a lot of just, not everything has to be stewed into complete mush. So there's a lot of things that are a little bit, there's like salads that are actually good and, some fried bread and all that sort of thing.
Pack. Yes.
So once it's confirmed that there's room and board and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Wilfred will close well close his book, go put in his order. Some I'm not sure what he'd eat, but then probably go to the big table and start asking about the history of the area. It's I noticed that the buildings are quite old, and you must be proud of how long standing
Um,
they
let
are.
let me be clear. When I say that they're old, I don't mean that they are big, old, fancy buildings. I mean that they built ordinary buildings a long time ago, and they're
Well, I
old.
mean, and I'm saying like the good quality that it lasts. Even
Sure.
ordinary
I
buildings
guess
last.
I'm just trying to make clear the difference between saying there's a castle and it's 800 years old and saying someone built this short storefront 40 years ago and it's been painted maybe twice since then.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
that sort of old.
Well, and also trying to make you get when you compliment, it's easier
Oh no,
to get good.
I appreciate that. I was just wanting to make sure that my description is clear.
All right.
Is that this is a town that has not seen much of any kind of new construction in some time, except of course for something that seems to be under construction on the other end of town. But mostly, this is a building that has been doing its thing very consistently
Yeah.
for a long time.
And sometimes that's a miracle in itself.
So I think you approach this table where the more impressive folks are kind of holding court, and the badger that Lancelot teased a little bit. It's got the the haystack in her corner of her mouth. This is a badger wearing jeans and kind of a flannel shirt and got some fancy gardening gloves sat on the table. Kind of just looks up at you and just says, well, if you're looking for history, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. You're not looking if you're looking for fancy stories. We don't have much of those around here, young fella. We just got a lot of people finding a good way to live and then living that way.
Hmm. Okay, I kind of lost the track of what I was gonna say.
Okay, you were I guess looking for history, right? But I mean,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking to write a guide per se of the woodland, this area, and hoping to bring it home to my people and so that they can be informed, and if they decide to come, not be as much of a stranger.
She looks around at the others, and there's a little bit of just, relatively good-natured chuckling as they kind of glance to each other about that, and just say, "Well, I mean, maybe you ought to write in your book that you put the cucumber seeds in the ground in the spring, then you harvest them come summer, and apples are best when you pick them in the fall." I don't know what else to tell you.
And he will actually open up to a page and start writing things down.
All right. As you do that, she kind of laughs, guffaws, and kind of chucks you on the side of the arm and says, "You're all right, son. Name's Greta Cumberly. I'm farmer around here. You and your friends, you come in from Iron Vein, is that right? I mean, that's what your fox fella said."
Yes, we did.
All right. Yeah, we're hearing some dark tidings from out west these days.
Some there can be, yes.
Yeah, well, you've come to the right place if you're looking to get away from all that. We're, setting our ways around here, but that's because, if your ways aren't broken, don't fix them. That's what I
We
say.
did on our way in. We did notice a something new being built.
Uh, her face falls, and there's definitely some grumbling around the table. It's like, yeah. Mayor Reese gave that Marcus 8 cat permission to build her recruiting station. I mean, I suppose it doesn't hurt none to let them build a building if they're spending money in town, but I don't know. It's still a lot of us rubbed raw around here about the way they came in last time.
Well, it could. Too bad it couldn't have been something more of general use, like I've heard of lumber mills and other things like that being
No,
built.
no. We don't need any of that. We've been doing just fine the way we are for a long time. We don't need any new. Like, we've been doing fine. What do we need a lumber mill for?
True. Use the strength of your backs to fell trees, or the skill of your saws to shape the wood instead of a machine.
Well, I don't know about all of that. I mean, mostly we do farming around here. There's wood to be found when you need it, but mostly what we're doing is using the strength of our backs to get crops out of the ground, if you follow me.
Yes, and it can take some strength depending on the crops, I've heard.
Mm-hmm. You know, I don't suppose you and your friends are looking for work.
I think we would be interested in listening, at least.
Yeah? Well, I see your friend's already buttering up the barkeep over there, but, he's going to charge you an arm and a leg for a tiny little room. If you're not looking for anything fancy, you can sleep in my barn for a week. Take up my job opportunity.
And may I ask what the job opportunity is?
Well, I think that may better be discussed in private. Maybe you go check with your friends, and if you're interested, let's meet around back.
Okay, I will do so.
All right.
And he goes to meet. I gather up with everybody else.
All right. She kind of nods to the other people at the table, like she knows they know what she's talking about, but they're also agreeing to not say it out loud.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So in the meantime, while that's happening, anyone else got business?
It overlaps with some what Nigel was saying, but Arvin was going to ask the barkeep about the new building and who's building it and what is it for. And it's like, I noticed a lot of the other buildings are stable and been here a while, but that's new construction. Well, who's building that and what is it doing? And probably is going to get the overlap of information that Nigel did. That's the Marcus recruiting station.
Okay. Well, so I guess who are you? Are you looking for the kind of person that I mentioned before, like someone who's looking a little bit more out of sorts?
Yes.
Okay. So I think you find there's a raccoon. Oh, I think we
have our turtle.
I think we have our turtle, or do we? Or no? What? Yeah, there we go. Let me get. Apologies for a brief interruption, everyone, as we get our our screen settled. Now that we've got our fifth player, welcome, Jason Banks.
Yeah.
Going on. Sorry about the delay, guys. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
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 All right. So let me take just a moment to get this set up properly. Okay. Okay. So, all right. Technical issues can just do that sometimes. Okay. And then. Okay. Oh, there we go. All right. So we'll have a brief, brief break for everyone while while we get this sorted out. So, Jason, can you sit up where you're going to be most comfortable and I can center your video? Great.
Let's get this camera straight for you. There we go.
Okay, perfect.
There we go.
Okay, and
Uh-huh.
then technically you need to be. Oops. There we go. You need to be up here. Ah. Sorry, this is usually stuff that I would do before the stream starts, and that's okay. We're all good here. And then sorry about there we go.
It's okay, stream. It's all my fault.
Well, you know, these things happen. So let's see. We've got there we go. We've got Jason there, and then that's where I'm. There we go. Sorry, I've got a new setup here, which is just making everything take a bit longer than usual. There we go. Okay, and then that needs to be. There we go. Lee, there we go. There's Lee.
Boom! I am here.
Okay.
Tall grass.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, just my forehead.
Yeah. Well, no, we'll fix it. We're almost there.
I know, I'm teasing.
This is the excitement of live streaming. Everybody loves it. You love it, don't you?
Yes.
You love it. Tell me.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, GM.
Please don't kill us.
Well, we'll see. So now that we have Jason Banks playing Clem Sparrow, Clem, you got separated from the rest of your companions during the last day of travel. But you promised you would catch up, and now you have. So the sun has gone down here in the clearing of Sundell, which is primarily a farming clearing, and you have hurried into town. The sun has just gone down. You are heading to the place that looks like it has the most activity, which is the tavern. So as you enter this tavern, which seems to be adjoined to the town hall, can you please describe your character and how you enter this tavern?
I see a squat box turtle, but his shell is actually a little bit different. It's spotted. It has a very noticeable, very distinct spotted pattern on the back, and his carapace, the part that's in the front, is a darker tan, and his skin is a kind of an almost loam colored green, which would be normal for a turtle, except he's got a large, bulky looking hammer on his shell, like on the side of it. And he seems to be moving a lot slower than another turtle, and there's faint jingles and jangles, and almost as if things are sliding around inside of his shell. And he's got a very steampunk-esque pair of goggles on top of his head. and he's kind of looking around, almost squinting.
Sure.
Trying to see where you guys are if you're
Okay.
in here.
Yeah, I think as you come in, you definitely see. I think probably Lancelot is over talking to the barkeep. Nigel, your capybara friend, is over talking to an old badger lady over at a table in the corner. What are Arbin and so Arbin was just going over to talk to this other character, which we'll get to in a moment. What's Peppa doing?
Peppa is waving enthusiastically.
Okay, yeah. So maybe
Aw.
Peppa will come over to greet Clem as he enters. So let's briefly resolve the conversation we were about to have with Arban, and then we'll join with Clem and Peppa. So you looking around for the people who seem a bit more out of sorts, Arban,
Yep.
find there's a raccoon who looks to also be a farmer, and kind of just your general impression is that they're also, a bit older, a bit more like well off than some of the others that seem like they're just more farm hands. So like he looks more like he's used to hard work, but these days has more of a supervisory capacity as opposed to, tilling the soil by hand, that sort of thing. But he is definitely seated like far away from that other table, like almost conspicuously in a spot where he won't have to look at them. And he's got a couple of empties by his current drink, and he's just looking like he's in kind of a foul mood.
Yeah, so I'll walk over. I will walk over to him. Our band's motions are generally direct and to the point. He doesn't saunter like Lancelot.
Mhm.
He doesn't go bouncing like Peppa. He doesn't move slowly like the capybara or the missing turtle. He doesn't know the turtle's there yet, but he's more like to the point. We'll go over to the raccoon and say, "May I join you, good sir?" It is a he, correct?
Yes, and a raccoon, if I didn't say.
Okay, yeah. May I join you, good raccoon?
He kind of looks up at you and squints a little bit. You can tell, like, he's not hammered or anything, but I mean, he's had a couple. He looks up at you and just says, "I mean, I don't suppose I have any reason to say no. I guess have a seat."
I'm Arban.
Murdy Calloway. A lot of those orchards out yonder are mine.
You do look like a successful member of this community, but perhaps one that has seen some things.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I just kind of just caught me on a bad night, Arban. I'm feeling. It's hard to. Well, you know what? It's just a spat, I suppose. But I just am just. I don't like to tell tales out of school. You understand? I just met you.
I can understand that. We just came into the community, obviously, but if there are tensions or problems or conflicts, it is my job within our little band to to have a eye on them, if you might say, to make sure that we don't get caught up in ruffling somebody else's feathers, to use a metaphor for my own
Well,
species.
I mean, I think the problem, as it seems to me, is people are all worried about like the wrong things. You know, this clearing has been doing things its own way for a long time, and that's been fine mostly for most folk. But like they're just not willing to ever consider any new ideas or let anything change, even when stuff is could be better. And I just like, I thought that we had, me and my daughter put together a hell of a presentation earlier today, and I thought that it was going to persuade them into something that was going to be good for everybody, and they weren't hearing me, and it was just frustrating, if you ask me. And I'm just starting to wonder, like, I've loved Sundale all my life, but that doesn't mean I don't think there's anything that couldn't be improved.
This community does seem to enjoy its stasis, for lack of a better word.
Well,
It's
like the world just doesn't work that way. We've been lucky a long time, but there's change on the horizon, and I'm worried we're not ready for it.
There's change over in Ironvale. If you heard my friend the Fox's presentation,
Yeah, yeah. Iron Vein.
Iron Vein. Thank you,
Yeah,
Iron
mhm.
Vein. Sorry,
That's right.
There's change over in Iron Vein.
Yeah, well, like, and that's the thing is, we got Grand Duchy and the Riverfolk Company on one side, and got Marcus 8 come through on the other. And I'm not a fan of Marcus 8. I don't like the way they came in, trying to get all pushy before. But at the same time, like, you know, I don't know that it's entirely wrong to say that, like, if there's going to be a war, I don't really want to be on the front lines, if you follow me. I don't know.
War,
I don't know.
no,
You
no,
kinda
no
just-
one wants war in their own backyard.
Yeah.
And if it must be in, but if it must be in that your backyard, you should be willing to be prepared for it.
Yeah, yeah.
My friend the capybara, who reads many books, once told me, if thou would have peace, be prepared for war. He read it in a book somewhere.
Yeah, well,
He's right.
I think there's a lot of folks around here who think that just because they're doing things the way their grandma did, that means everything's going to be fine. But if the rest of the world isn't acting the way it did when their grandma was around, that doesn't mean it's always going to keep working.
I concur.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm saying, young fella. I just like, thanks for letting me vent at you a little bit. I don't know what to do here. Like, the problems of the woodland are too big for me. I'm just trying to get here and get by and make a better future for my daughter.
But the conservatism of you see this lovely place unwilling to do anything except that it's always done, and you're afraid of it.
Yeah,
Of
well, let me tell you,
crumbling.
like, I grow a lot of fruit, right? People like fruit. Fruit's good. We send it all over. Apples keep. They're great. You can ship them all over the place and they keep. People like apples. It's great. But you know what? My daughter invented a way to press apples to make juice and cider way easier than we've been doing it. And the price markup on cider? Like, if we got ourselves a cider industry, we could be making way more than we're making now. But just because it's new, no one even wants to hear it. It's frustrating. I thought I would, I let my daughter present to these folks, and they hurt her feelings, frankly, and it just makes me angry.
I am sorry that your daughter's ideas were treated thusly. I noticed there is a new building being built in.
Yeah, well,
In the community.
like, that's the thing.
What is that?
Well, like I don't know what you heard, but like Marcus 8 came through with some soldiers not too long ago.
You could see the feathers ruffle just slightly
Yeah.
after they mentioned the Marcus 8.
Oh, hey, I know, right? Like, I don't like the way they came in here, and like, they just kind of like took in position, and they said they were here to meet with Mayor Reese, and then all of a sudden it felt like he didn't have the option of saying no to that meeting, if you follow me.
I follow you.
But at the same time, like, they didn't hurt anybody except, well, okay, Tilly got her arm broke, but that's because she attacked them, and all they did is push her off of them. Like, when folks around here decided to drive them out, they pulled out. They did not fight back. And now they've come here with some new cat lady who's acting awful nice. And you know what? Hey, it's maybe just a lot of hooey, but they seem like they're apologizing for the way they did before. And you know what? The thing is, Marcus 8, at least they listened to new ideas.
They definitely are not hidebound to the past is what works for the future. They do react to new conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Must be said. It's kind of hard for Arvin to actually to praise the Marcus 8
Yeah.
anyway, but he will give him that.
Well, in any case, like, I feel like, telling tales a little loud, like, I mean, folks over yonder heard the other end of this conversation already, so And I'm like I said, I'm just venting here. I don't know what's right. I'm just having a drink, and I appreciate you being a listening ear.
You're welcome, good sir.
Well, so I hope while you are in town, if there, I'm sure there's work you can find. Don't make trouble. And
I try to keep this group from causing difficulties as best I can.
well, that's a good way to be. So in the meantime, Clem has shown up, and we've got Peppa along, coming over to greet them.
Hello, hello, hello. Lancelot got us food. I'm glad you got it. I'm glad you got here safe. And she'll just
Well-
kind of shoo Clem in.
Well, slow and steady always wins the race. The tortoise and the hare's my favorite story. Clink, 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 clink.
All right. So after as a brief interruption, we're getting David back. Let me move everyone back into their right spots.
Yep.
And then so sorry, if you had more that you wanted to say, that could be fine, but it could also be that at about now is when the when Nigel comes over to the rest of you and lets you know that you maybe have a job offer.
I
That's
think
fine.
that, yeah, we definitely want to find out about that. Let's finish eating first, though.
And
Uh,
actually, what was the person's name? I
Greta
missed that.
Cumberly. Greta Cumberly.
Work
So,
keeps-
so she seemed to think that this was an offer being made more or less right away. If you're not going out to meet her, you might want to let her know.
So, hi. So, so we're all interested in the job.
or we could send a representative
Well, I
with the
imagine
trust to.
What's
I could
the
meet
work?
with her myself and share the details with you.
Well, what's the work? If something needs fixing, I can fix it.
I will let her know. She was not interested in talking about it in public.
Oh,
Which
oh,
is
oh,
suspicious.
oh. One of those jobs. One of those jobs. Okay, okay, okay.
Quite profitable sometimes.
She offered a place to stay in her barn for a week for free if we do the job.
Can't beat free 99.
Find out more, Nigel.
I will do so.
All right. So everyone else is eating while you send Nigel out to.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
So
I'll if it's needed, I'll make purposeful eye contact with Greta to let her know that I'm interested. I'm going to
Okay.
head out.
yeah. Well, I think yeah. So So she'll nod to you and then lead you out through like a back door.
Okay.
Right. And she doesn't take you far. She's just, just outside where, there's a little bit of there's kind of a standing brazier out back, so there's a little bit of light out there, but mostly, it's gotten dark outside now, so it's kind of, you're in a little pool of firelight, and you're just seeing lights here and there from some of the other nearby buildings, but it's fairly dark. And she just looks to you and says, "The others not coming?"
They were particularly interested in eating. I would, I will share what you have to say with them.
All right, well, fair enough. Although you might want to have whatever discussion you have with some discretion. That's why I asked you to come out back here. So if you're all
Oh,
planning to just talk about this job at the table, that kind of defeats the purpose, if you follow me.
True. We will work it out.
All right. Well, as long as when you get caught, you don't mention it's coming from me, that's fine.
Of course.
So, as far as I'm concerned here, this is above board, right? Because here's the thing, Marcus 8 not welcome in Sundale, as far as I'm concerned, and I think a lot of folks around here feel the same way. So I don't know why Mayor Reese decided to just go ahead and give them permission to build their recruiting center, but he did, and here they are. And it seems to me they're coming in making all sorts of nice noises about, oh, here's all the great things Marcus 8 can offer you as long as you sign over your soul. Uh-huh. No, I think they got ulterior motives. And those ulterior motives are basically like, we're going to come in and take control of your town. I need you to prove it for me. I think that cat lady that they got down in that recruiting center they're building, I'm sure she's got some kind of papers in there that prove what Marcus 8's really up to. Now, I'll let you all and your friends stay at my shed out of my farm. You can stay out there for a week and give you a room and board for free for a week. And if you can prove that Marcus 8's up to no good, give me something I can show the others, I'll give you a little 10 coin for it too.
Okay.
That is 10 coin for all ya, not like each, just to be clear.
Of course. That would be a little excessive.
Yeah, I thought so. So what do you think? Can you do it?
I believe we could.
All right, well, I'm going to want to have the whole group agree to it before I show you to the barn, if you follow me.
Oh, yes.
All right, well, I'm going to get back to it after I take care of some personal business that does not need to include you. And then once you are ready, just come over to the table and say that you'd like to see the farm after all. We'll work it out. She goes around the corner.
Yeah. And I will go back in, kind of stand in the back and write out basically a description of the job that I can show, pass around the table, so you don't have to discuss the details and out loud.
Okay.
Are we all literate?
You tell me. It's fine with
I
me
think
if you all
Arban
want to
being
be.
raised in the Empire definitely is, but it's not an assumption I wanted to make for everybody.
Yeah.
I think Lancelot is. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Peppa is.
I
I
think
mean,
Clem, builds and reads things in schematics, so he's good.
Okay. Just want to make sure. It's like new setting is like don't want to make assumptions that are not necessarily warranted.
Jason, if you could move your mic just a little bit closer and be a little bit louder, that'd be great. Thank you. All right, so as you head back in, Nigel, and
Yes.
Right.
I take a moment to write that down and then I
Sure.
get back in.
okay, so the rest of you have claimed a table and you're eating.
yep, I definitely learned that when you have the opportunity to eat, do so.
Yeah. And I come
Especially
back,
when the food
take-
is this good.
Yeah.
I'll come back, take seems like that job opportunity we talked about. Here's the details.
Yeah, so I guess you would see the summary written up in the notebook.
Yeah.
So,
This looks interesting.
Seems pretty simple. I don't think it'd be too hard.
The only fly in the ointment, and it is odd for me to say this, is if the Marcus 8 is not up to no good, then we won't be able to fulfill the terms of this deal. But my suspicion is, of course, that they are probably doing something untoward. I had a conversation with a local here regarding their recent activities, so I think investigating their activities would be something I'd be interested in, whether or not we were taking this deal or not.
Well, my grandma used to say that you get more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. So the way they've changed how they're doing could be the honey.
They've switched what they're using. There's a fair point, Master Turtle.
Oh shucks. I'm still learning. No
Aren't we all?
master over here.
Aren't we all?
All right.
So I think we should let this person know that we will be interested in their employment.
And as far as the terms, just to be clear, the week of room and board is basically for making the attempt, and then 10 value if you come up with proof that of
Yeah.
ulterior motives.
Mhm.
But otherwise, like, it's
Basically.
finder's fee if you find something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you give Greta the message, and
Yeah.
Hmm.
all right.
We are interested in seeing the farm. Any farm.
Ah, well then, all right. And she kind of glances over at the other farmers there at the table with her, kind of nods at them, kind of knocks on the table. About time for me to head on towards the back, so good night all. And
Basically, Ken, let's step in after we eat.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. Yeah. That's we've already eaten.
Yeah, after
no,
we.
you ate. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
No, you guys suffer 3 injury points because you didn't finish your dinner.
Wow, that's what again.
No. Yes.
You have food.
I was assuming when you were ready, you approached
Yeah.
her. Okay.
Yeah.
So, nonetheless, then she leads you out of the tavern, and she's just starts heading up the road. It's like I said, it's relatively dark, and there's lots of big, long places where there's really not any a whole lot of light. It's not much moon right now. And she seems to know her way pretty well, though. So if you're just able to kind of stay close and follow her, it's not any kind of a problem. And, she's not leading you over an obstacle course anyway. It's just down a pretty clear path.
Yeah.
You'll stay in front of me this time, Clem. We don't want you to get lost again.
So in any case, while you're walking, she says, "So, told your friend there, Greta Cumberly, my name. I'm part of the farmer circle around here. So, who all the rest of you?"
My name is Lancelot Vent. I am so pleased to meet you.
Charmed, I'm sure.
Peppa, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Oh, well, double pleasure then, I guess, huh?
No, they say double your pleasure, double your fun.
I have heard that. I have heard that somewhere.
My name's Clem.
Clem, all right. Nice to meet you.
I am Arban Ironwing.
Now, you have got some fancy armor on.
Yes.
All right.
I am not a Vorlon, honest.
Sure. Yeah. So she leads you. It's not too far. This place is, it's everything is kind of centrally got this town, and there's lots of farmland, but it tends to kind of go out radially. So it's not too far to walk to where her farmhouse is, and then it's kind of like her fields extend further beyond that. And so the moon comes out a little bit as you're making your way, and you can see that she's got quite a bit of land that seems to be part of her territory that she's guiding you to. And sure enough, there's a big old shed that's got some dried hay in it, and it seems to be dry and warm and out of the wind. And it's nothing not big in a lot of creature comforts, so to speak, but it'll certainly keep you out of the weather.
Yep. It looks good. It looks good.
All right. So, as far as mealtime, we've got a galley where the farmhands all eat 3 meals a day. You're welcome to join them for so long as you're staying here. So, you got any questions for me regarding this particular assignment?
Yes. Do you know who is in charge of the construction?
Well, I believe that cat lady that Marcus H said her name is Elaine. I think Elaine. Yeah, Elaine something cat like. I don't know. I don't remember the last name, but she seems to be in charge. Although she's kind of a kitten, if you ask me. A little young, it seems to be, like in charge of such a thing. But she's got some of her Marcus 8 guard with her. Like looks like 7 or 8 of them maybe total. They're guarding a bunch of equipment that they brought over. It just seems like there's a merchant or something traveling with them. I don't really know what's going on with all that. But then as far as the actual building, they hired some local boys.
Where do the Marcusets stay when they're not working on the site?
Oh, they got their own like tents that they set up.
So they camp on site.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess they got the feeling that they're not going to be super welcome over at Lumpy Tuber, at least. Yeah.
Well,
Hmm.
you said they hired local boys. Maybe they would know what's going on with the merchant and all of the things they have in their encampment.
Yeah, maybe. I think there's a lot of folks in town that would choose not to work for Marcus 8 if certainly I would have put myself in that category, but I guess they're paying pretty well. And, as much as I don't like it, I suppose, if someone's hurting for coin,
Well,
Gotta eat.
machines work best when you grease the gears.
Well, it might be worthwhile if we can talk to some of those folks and learn what we can about what's going on in the work site. But I think the information we're actually looking after is going to be a little deeper. But I think we can be on this. We've already eaten and it's getting dark. Perhaps we can have a little reconnoiter before we go any further.
All right. Well, construction sites hard to miss back in town, so I don't think you'll have any trouble finding that. All the other workers, construction workers, have gone home for today,
Yeah.
but I'm sure they'll be back at it in the morning.
All right. So, what do you say? What do you say, chums? Shall we have a look around?
Yes, let's.
Yes.
Observing is always a good idea.
All right. So you're headed back out from the farm then to go check this place out?
Yep.
No time like the present.
Sure,
Yep.
sure.
Nighttime reconnoitering.
Yeah.
for fun and
So
profit.
it is certainly not only getting dark. I mean, it is dark now. It is, the stars have come out. There's just a little bit of a sliver of a moon right now that keeps going back and forth and behind some clouds. So there's not a lot of light to work with, which is, bad in the way of helping you see lots of stuff, but good in the way of helping people not so much see you, perhaps. So, what's the plan? You certainly can find this place. What would you like to do, vagabonds?
Is the construction site like barred off? Is there any sort of like perimeter or fencing or anything?
So as you get closer, you can see that there is a very roughly built, sort of hastily constructed shed-like structure where it's like the bare minimum needed to enclose a space. It looks like there's no foundation or anything for that area, that it's just like a quick and dirty temporary structure. And then next to it, you can see the groundwork and framing being set out for a nicer place. And so they've got kind of the floor started there, and they've got, the 2x4 framing of the walls started to go up there. There is, as you kind of see it from a block away or so, you see that there is a guard in Marcus 8 armor who's kind of just standing near the construction site looking bored. Beyond that, there is a handful of tents set up behind that are fairly nice tents. Like, you heard tents, you might have thought it's just a simple sort of camping tent that one of you might have used on a trek through the forest, but these seem to be sort of, nice formal tents. And there's at least
Almost
one
like-
that seems big enough that you could have, people have a stand-up meeting in there.
Like a pavilion
Yeah,
type tent. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Pippa will take off her hat and stuff it into her gambeson
All right.
and say, "I'll go fly over, and see what there is."
Okay. So are
I'll give a
you
nod.
looking to read a tense situation?
I don't know.
I mean,
I know what I want to do in the fiction. I don't
so-
know what
okay.
what
Well,
the
so
movie.
here's the point. When it comes to a lot of these sorts of things, that like we're only going to do it as a move if you're trying to do something that's risky. If all you're really doing is flying overhead, I mean, you're going to get the information I kind of just gave you.
Yeah.
So you can certainly do that, and you can ask me a few more details, but I'm just saying that, like, it's not going to be a move unless you're doing something more risky.
Yeah, if you look at the questions you can ask under read a tense situation, this is exactly the kind of thing that we want to know. So,
But
Or a
if
little
you're,
magpie
if
soar.
you're, so the idea here is, because anytime you do a move, there's a risk of something bad happening, right? And so the point is, if what you're doing is you're staying at a distance in order to be sure that you're fine and won't be seen, that gets you the information I gave you already. So if you want to get more information, you're going to have to take a risk. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I was looking to get was entrances.
Okay.
And
Well-
maybe a count of the number of tents. I mean, because you said there were some tents.
Yeah. Well,
But, you know,
so
how-
it looks like the number of tents roughly correlate with what Greta suggested, which is that there's somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 to 8 people plus the fancy tent.
Okay.
yeah.
And then as far as entrances and exits, the tents have their own entrance,
No,
Like
I meant for
10.
the construction site. Is there like a back
no,
way in, or
the site is not like an enclosed thing. The site is a building.
It's a foundation,
It's
right?
a building
Didn't you
under
say it was a-
construction, yeah. So there
Okay.
is the enclosed shed that's a much hastier construction, and then next to it is what looks like it'll be a nicer building, but it's in progress.
okay.
So,
I'll tell you that there is actually one tent that doesn't look the same as the others as far as the rest of the tent. So there's like, so I already mentioned there's the ones that look like the standard sleeping tent for someone who with the Marcus 8. There's one big fancier tent, and then there's one that doesn't look like any of those.
Okay.
so,
But there is a guard posted, so if you want to get more information, there's risk.
all right. You know what? I am going to saunter past the site,
Okay.
looking like I've got somewhere to go, but nevertheless with my eyes open.
Sure.
And I am going to read a tense situation.
Okay. All right. So, when you read a tense situation, you roll with cunning.
I just rolled a 10 for a total of 11.
Nice. Very nice. So that means that of these questions on the move, you can ask 3 of them, and I will tell you the answer.
Okay. What is the best way in and out for for getting in and out undetected.
Well, so I need more specifics in this case of getting into where.
We want to get to the fancy, the special tent,
Okay.
because I'm pretty sure. And also, is that the tent? I kind of want to like adapt the questions a little. Is that in fact the tent where the person in charge sleeps?
Well, so what I'll say just before, without counting as one of your questions, is that there are tents that you, given that you have every reason to believe that these are Marcus 8 soldiers that are, majority of the people, there are the tents that you believe would be the Marcus 8 soldier tents.
Right.
There's another one that has the same sort of sigildry on it, but is bigger and fancier, the pavilion one.
Pavilion one. Right.
Then there's
there's
another
one other
one
tent there.
that does not have any of those type of markings on it. If it weren't in the same little cluster, you'd think it's unrelated.
Okay. All right. Uh,
So if the question is, what's the best way in out through the fancy pavilion tent? Is that the question?
sure.
All
Sure.
right.
What's the best way in and out of out through the fancy pavilion tent?
All right. Well, I think what you know about that one is that to get to the entrance of that, you'd have to go right through the middle of all of the other tents. But you've seen that kind of tent before, and you know that it's not all that difficult if you are determined to lift up the back flap and kind of wriggle under it. And you can stay in the shadows and get around to the back that way much easier than you could go through to the main entrance.
Okay.
The only downside of that is that it's not very quick as an escape. Like you can get in, but once
Right.
you're in, if you had to leave in a hurry, you have to get down on your belly and squeeze through, and there'd definitely
Right.
be time for someone to
Right.
run up and stick a sword in your butt.
Who is in control here? And
Uh,
where is the person who is in control? Because we already know who it is.
Okay. Yeah, well, so it would definitely seem to be the person. There's someone who resides in that big fancy pavilion tent, and that's
Okay.
clearly the person in charge.
Okay, so it's not just a meeting tent. That's
Oh
the
no, yeah, it seems
residential
to
tent.
be.
Okay.
It has place where people can meet, but it is also someone staying in there.
Okay. And what should I be on the lookout for?
I think on the lookout for here is that the the nice building being put up is not secure enough to put anything, of value in. The other construction seems designed to enclose something, which would presumably something you wouldn't put that up if you didn't have something that you needed to keep somewhat semi-protected. But you doubt that something on the order of secret plans would be in there.
Right.
And so you would guess, based on this setup here, that if there were something in the nature of secret plans, those are going to be on the person in charge. They're going to keep those on her.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to return to the rest of the group and let them know what I found. It says take +1 when acting on the answers. Does that refer to everybody or just me?
Just you.
Okay.
Unless you have one of the connections that allows someone else to share that. Because I believe it might be professional. That if someone has professional with you, or you have it with them, I think the mechanical effect of that lets you have someone share that bonus. But
Okay. Yeah, I do not have that connection.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
A good start. Thank you, Lancelot.
so I let them know what I found. And now I am not the sneakiest person, but and if I think that the information is that what is actually on their person, then the best time to be in there is after they're asleep.
Mhm.
So we can hopefully quietly go through their things. Which means we don't want to do a diversion that would get them up and into their clothes. We want this to be very
This is
very
stealth,
quiet.
the stealth, not misdirection.
Mhm.
right. I don't think a distraction is in order here.
Distraction would be as if
Um,
we're trying this a full-on assault, which is not warranted at this time.
No, I don't think so.
However, if we
Now the
find information,
sneakiest one of us is Peppa.
Which is hilarious.
I mean,
Let's be honest, it's hilarious.
it's not, you built your character explicitly for that in terms of mechanics.
I know. But just how cheerful and enthusiastic
Sure,
I've been playing her, it
So how about we now, given that we just arrived in town, she probably knows we're here, and any trouble that comes about is absolutely going to fall on our heads, even if we get away, if anything is detected. So I think that the best plan, best way we can help you is to be on hand to deter pursuit in case you are detected. But otherwise, I think you just want to sneak in the middle of the night. I'm saying 3 a.m. or so, and see what you can find. And if that goes well, then maybe we'll have what we want right away. And if not, maybe we can try something else, or just skip town and find the next place.
how are
well
you feeling, Peppa?
well that sounds like a plan. That's definitely option one. Let's call that option one. Option two is I have delivered messages for the Marquescat before. And also, I could offer my services as a courier, and if they need messages sent back to home base, and they could give me status reports of what they're doing.
Or maybe just learn something in the conversation with her. That's a possibility.
Infiltrate them.
That's an option.
Infiltration might work better than stealth. Yes.
The other thing is we don't know how early they start working. So probably tonight would not be a good night to do this. We probably want to do surveillance first and see if they
What their habits
get
are.
up really early. Maybe 3 o'clock is when everybody has breakfast, and then plan from there.
Rather industrious for a cat. They're getting up at 3 a.m. But
Well, who says the cat's the one that's doing the work?
fair point.
Also, someone who's good at talking to people could maybe talk with the guard. You know, if you've got somewhere to be, but generally don't know where you're going, maybe you strike up a conversation. He looked awful bored.
That's a possibility. Again, the kind of thing that we might do if we were doing a big operation.
We do have a week of, so we don't have to do it tonight. We might try a multi-factor approach. I am generally best at hitting things. It occurs to me, however, Nigel, that you might be inclined to look at records, say in the talking way into talking to look at records in the mayor's palace, you might be able to find something interesting about the Marcus Satan, what they're doing from those records. You certainly could puzzle them out better than any of us could.
Yes, definitely a talk with the mayor or his assistant, as it were, would probably be of good help.
So I think we all could do various things to make this a successful operation and have us all engaged.
If someone would be up to it, uh, perhaps staying and watching to see when a work is begun for the day would be helpful.
Question:
Oh.
Are you all having this conversation like?
I think we've pulled
Out in
back
the-
from the
Like
Okay.
pulled back from the thing.
All right.
Pulled back
So,
probably
from
well
the
outside of sound.
well, okay, yeah. So that's why I was asking.
Ooh,
Yeah.
You,
No, we're standing right next to the guard.
So have you returned to the shed, or like, because otherwise you're like standing in the middle of the path in the dark.
Actually, yeah, returning to the shed probably
Yeah.
a good idea.
oh,
Yeah, there's a lantern you can light in there. And,
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
no, guys. I could see if they need a help with repairing things. I'm not very good at lifting or carrying, but their tools do need to be repaired. Then that way we'd have someone on the inside. And I'm good at being on the inside. Pops his head into his shell.
Yes, you are. So we have surveillance, we have trauma of the guards, we have courier, we have research, and we have inside man to fix things. I think we all have roles we can play to find out more about what they're doing, who they are, and then armed with that knowledge, we may or may not wind up doing an operation such as we were contemplating tonight, or try some other track in order to get the proof of their perfidy.
We
I
could
did use
do-
that word right, didn't I, Nigel?
I believe you did.
could do all of these, mostly. It's kind of a blunderbuss approach. You put enough against the wall, something will stick.
yeah, like noodles. All right. So, are you turning in for the night, ready to start tomorrow, or what's the?
Arban's going to sleep the least. He's going to go out there the earliest so he can find out what, basically try to observe from a distance, find out when they start their day and
Okay.
when their guard patrols are. So yeah, so he's doing the Overwatch approach.
Okay. So here's the thing. I think you would all assume that the most likely is that there's not going to be anything happening before dawn because it's just too dark. It's too dark to do anything. So the question then would be, when are you going to start watching?
Half an hour before dawn.
Okay. So I'm going to just go ahead and assume that you are capable of making that happen without needing an alarm clock or something. It seems like the sort of thing Arben could probably do.
He's military. He knows when to sleep, when not to.
Okay, so you're just out there to watch kind of from a distance. Now
Yeah.
that said, I think that if you're going to be able to watch in any detail without being like obviously, observed. So the question again is going to be, how much are you willing to push your luck? Because if you want more information with a potential of risk, then that is an option. Otherwise, it's a question of how close are you trying to get.
We're starting off conservative. He wants to know basically when the camp is rousing. He's
Okay.
not looking
Yeah.
specifically for
Sure.
large amounts of details
Yeah.
yet. That's going
Okay.
to probably come.
Right. Okay, so you then are able to stay well back enough that you're not going to be observed by anyone at that site, at least.
Yeah.
I think you do have a moment where you get an odd look from a fox coming through, who looks like he's got, you know, like a tool belt on, and he's heading through. And this is just shortly before dawn, and he gives you an odd look. Where are you sitting? Like, where have you set up for this?
Probably near a tree or some other cover where he can just like lean himself against it, as if he's trying to enjoy nature, or he's just trying to be by himself, being the gruff lone soldier who's basically watching the. I mean, ideally, if we can face east to face the camp, it almost like he's looking for watch the sunrise for some whatever reason.
Sure, sure. So it's a suspicious individual is loitering out in the middle of nowhere, where he can observe the Marcus 8 campment. That's fine. No, I'm teasing. In any case, though, I think what you are able to glean is that seems like some various construction workers are starting to trickle in just before dawn. They are greeted by the guard as dawn is about happening. That's when two guards, you know, emerge from the tents and relieve the one that had been standing there, and then they both kind of set up, you know, around, you know, that position, and some various other activities starting to rouse there as well, and you know, that, so the construction looks like it's starting to get underway. You do also see an opossum in relatively fine, like merchant's clothing, come out of that one other tent, and then he goes into the enclosed shed-like building.
That's interesting. That's good to know. Making note of all this. As soon as the construction worker trickle stops, then he'll start heading back to go tell his companions about what he saw for them. The morning start.
Okay.
So he's not running into people on the road. He's always not many people on the road, so it doesn't look like he's been spying that necessarily. Besides, he's also trying to get a rough sense of how many workers have come through. You know, like 1, 2, 3. So he wants that number, that rough number. So when dealing with,
Okay.
know how many people are doing the job site.
All right. Well, I mean, not everybody's coming out all at once. I mean, it's like
Right. So he's going to wait a little bit.
Okay. Well, what I'm saying is that you're wanting very specific information of the type that I said that you would need to get closer to have.
Okay. So yeah. So he won't get closer then. So about an hour after sunrise, then he'll return back to the barn and take that information for what it is.
Yeah, but it does seem clear that the guards are not here to work on the construction. That is happening with locals who are coming in and seem to be doing it. The guards are kind of rousing, but it seems like they are security, not workers.
That's good to know. They are local boys who are working.
Because you stay that long, you do watch as the possum comes back out of the shed with a big rolled up thing that he unrolls and affixes to the side of the shed, and you can't really read it from here, but he's put up a poster of some kind.
Okay, interesting.
And he goes.
I'm not going to try to get closer to go take a look at that at this point.
Sure. So,
but playing conservative to start.
Okay.
With.
So you go back and you tell your friends what you saw.
Yes.
All right.
Yep. I tell them everything.
Okay. What would you all like to do? It's up to you. You sleep in.
They don't have the military life.
Well, I was going to say, it sounds like the person with the poster might be the foreman.
No.
Because if they're, putting things up and not doing any of the labor, there's someone in charge.
I think they might be the money.
Yes, the merchant is who I figure that one would be.
Well, maybe I should go try to talk with the guard or the merchant and see if there's a job for me to do.
join the local construction group.
Well, again, I'm not good at lifting things. But if they've got pickaxes or saws that need to be repaired, I can do that. In fact, I can do that rather quickly.
Okay.
I believe I will go see if I can have a conversation with the mayor
Okay.
or some such.
Sure, sure. So Clem's going to go talk to, the folks at the construction site. Nigel's going to go to the mayor. Is anyone going with either of them? What are the rest of you doing?
Hmm.
I'll join Nigel at the mayor, I believe.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think
Okay.
Peppa will go with Clem
All right.
just to introduce herself as, "Hey, I'm in town.
Need a messenger?
If you need something delivered, let me know."
They would probably be very appreciative of your quick, flighty speed, because I can't fly.
That's what makes us such a good team.
Yes. Hmm. I'm not sure.
Do we want to follow one of the other groups and then you can think about it? Or?
Yeah, I'm gonna stay nearby the group that's going to the work site,
Okay.
but not actually accompany them. Just be within shouting distance in case something goes wrong.
Okay. Okay. So, do you have breakfast there at the Cumberly farm?
Yes,
They got a lot
Yes.
of
Always.
baked beans and cornbread on the menu for breakfast.
Baked beans and
fine.
toast.
Yes.
Some of my favorites.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Whistling through my beak and through my feathers.
Sure. So, let's follow Arban and Nigel first, heading towards the town hall. I think as you are coming into town, you do not go past the construction site from the Cumberly farm to go to the town hall. So that's kind of off to the north. But as you're approaching the town hall, you can see that those two big double doors that are on the town hall half are open, and there's a small crowd of people kind of murmuring in a concerned way. And at the front of the, like the little pack, kind of in this sort of meeting room area, as you can see, there's a big open area that looks like it's designed for town meetings when maybe the weather isn't suitable for having it be outside, where it would be more comfortable. You can see that there is a fox who is in some just fastidiously clean sort of fancy robes, almost like judges' robes, but not black. They're just it just seems like a uniform of office sort of thing. And he has a magnifying glass around his neck, like on a chain. And he seems to be the person that they're kind of all focused on. And to one side is a beaver woman, middle aged, who's clutching a book to her chest and scowling at all of the other people, sort of in a disapproving, concerned way. And you can hear the crowd is kind of demanding answers from the fox, and he's saying, everyone, listen, I assure you, we are working hard to stop this menace. But there's only so much we can do. He's clearly a skilled thief. And someone is saying, he's leaving calling cards. How does that not help you catch him? It's like, well, as it happens, it turns out we only find the card after he's already gone. So it doesn't help as much as you might think. And so they're all asking questions about him, about some theft that has occurred.
Let's find out more, Nigel. Let's move closer.
We would have heard about the bad Nigel
Well, so
right? Or
as a brief retcon, I had originally, when I designed the clearing, had a thief that was named Nigel, but then when you named your character Nigel, I decided that the thief was actually named Venick, not Nigel. So there's no
Oh.
good Nigel and bad Nigel. It is Venick.
Okay.
Venick, the thief, is the one that has been leaving, doing weird thefts and leaving bizarre calling cards and that sort of thing. And that's what you would have heard about and maybe discussed on the road.
Okay. And is that spelled Fennec?
Vennic.
Okay.
Yeah. Venick. So all you know is rumors that there have been like a series of thefts where someone is apparently taking credit via notes.
I'll
What
change
sort
my
of things
notes.
are they is this Venick stealing? I'll raise my voice to over the crowd so that the
Okay.
fox can hear.
Sure. So he looks over and his eyes kind of, he just takes in that there's a couple of, strangers in town. And everyone else kind of looks over at you too. And you get some, a variety of looks of like curiosity to disinterest to mild suspicion of just like, we're talking about a thief and then all of a sudden there's a stranger in town, that sort of thing. The fox seems, more like interested and welcoming in his demeanor. That beaver that's standing to his side just
Yeah.
hates you on sight for no apparent reason. She just seems like the sort of person that like, you don't fit into her plan, and that means you're a problem for her. That sort of, like her plan
Seen
for the
that
day
type
is like,
before.
I have a checklist of things that I have to do today, and dealing with newcomers was not on it, so get out of my way. That sort of look. So she looks irritated that you are interrupting the normal flow of the conversation already. But you ask what sort of things have been stolen. He says, well, today apparently they stole a selection of jewelry that was, and one of there's a rabbit who says it was all of my grandma's jewelry, and I mean it wasn't nothing fancy, but it had sentimental value to me. I don't know why they would take it. It's not like we're rich or something. And so the mayor kind of says, well, I mean, we care about thefts no matter who it's from.
May I see the calling card? I ask with trying to dampen my curiosity, but my curiosity is raised.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Sure.
not sound excited, like, oh, this could be interesting and
Yeah,
something to investigate.
I think that I would like to see a persuade an NPC. Well, no, I take it back. Not for this. I think in this case, there's just a little bit of a beg your pardon, sir, but what is your interest in asking? Because
Well, I
I
am new
mean, we're
to-
not here to just satisfy the
No, but-
curiosity of looky loos.
No, but I am new to town, and if there's a thief present in the community, the thief might well decide to target newcomers as being outside the community, outside the bonds of fellowship and holiness that you have here. So I would like to know more about a thief, especially if the thief might come to try to take something of me or mine.
All right. Well, I mean, the thief has already been stealing a lot from the people who live in this town. And so as a result, I don't think it's especially like they're going to target outsiders who are not part of the community because they're already stealing from the community. But I suppose it doesn't hurt to show you the note. So he actually turns to the beaver and says, hang on, know me? Sure. Well, let's show him the notes. Why not? And so he takes out like a whole stack of these little, they're not like fancy embossed cards, but they're like clearly printed in a consistent way. Like the handwriting seems similar on all of them. He says, here's the one from last night. And he holds it up. And then what it says on it is death to tyrants.
Death to tyrants.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then he holds up another one and says, and here's the one from when they stole the blacksmith's favorite hammer last week. And it says, tyrants aren't so bad. And then here's the one from when they stole the prize-winning pumpkin from the 4-H, not 4-H, but the children's produce harvest. And then he holds up another one, and it says, "This pumpkin was too big." So, sir, if you can make heads or tails of that, I mean, we would love to hear it.
Sadly, no. I'll look at Nigel, because if anyone can figure this out, Nigel is. But I'm suspecting even Nigel can't figure this one out easily. I'll look to my capybara companion, because he's the one who could puzzle this out if anybody can.
A random guess is that it has everything been unusual in some way, something that would stick out among other similar items.
Nomi, this badger or beaver assistant, looks up to the mayor and just says, "Mayor Reese, why are you sharing the details of the investigation with these outsiders? For all we know, these are the thieves trying to find out what we know." And Reese doesn't roll his eyes, but there's a little bit of like,
How long has
Okay, I
this
guess
thief
she
been doing this?
and she glares at the mayor like, "Don't you dare." And he's now kind of torn between the two of you.
Well, unless, well, judging by the size of that stack, I have a feeling that this thief has been active longer than I've been in the woodland.
The rest of the crowd is starting to murmur again, and sensing that everyone's getting a little agitated, hearing, getting excited about, like, "Oh my God, there's a thief, we can't catch him." He just says, everyone, please. I know this is concerning. This is not something we expect as part of this community. And we know that whoever is doing this is someone, it must be someone from outside the community. There's no other way. We have been an intact, tight-knit community that cares for one another for a long time. And we will get to the bottom of this, I assure you. But everyone, please allow us to conduct our investigation, and we will stop these thefts, I assure you. And the thing is, you kind of buy it. This guy, you see why this guy's the mayor. Like, when he seems to actually manage to soothe the nerves of these people, and they're grumbling that they didn't get everything they wanted, but they will accept that for now. And they kind of start dispersing. And then do the two of you stay?
Yeah, it's time to go in. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh crap, we lost David
Yeah.
for a moment again.
Okay.
But
well,
yes, I believe I could speak for David when I said yes, that we're going to.
Yeah. Okay.
He'll be
We
back.
don't have to comment on it on every time. It's okay.
But yeah,
Let's,
so yep, we're gonna go into continue our plan
okay.
of wanting to look at the records and documents and.
Okay. So,
Find out
well, I
more.
mean, so say what you're saying. I mean,
So okay, so Lord Mayor, this is my companion and friend Nigel Farnhoot. He and I would like to look at the records and history of your community. Since we are new here, would like to know more about the place we're staying here, even if only for a little while. And Nigel's somewhat of an expert and has a abiding interest in history and travel logs. Wouldn't you used to say, Nigel, you write travel logs?
I am writing an informative work for people outside of the woodlands to know more about the woodlands. I plan to have at least a chapter for every clearing.
Mayor Reese is considering this. I think what we're looking for here is a persuade an NPC. One of you can choose to help the other, but it does require you mark exhaustion to give the bonus to the roll, and you can
I
choose to
will-
do that after the roll goes forward. So you might, whoever's doing the
I
main
will-
roll, do it first.
I will help Arbon
Okay,
because
no, so for helping in this, do it after the initial roll, because
Oh,
if the initial roll doesn't need it, then you don't need to
Yeah.
mark
okay.
exhaustion.
Well then,
A rolling
I will
charm,
let
correct?
Arbon roll
Yes,
it.
yes. And so,
not the
in
most-
particular, one thing to note here with persuade an NPC is that you only do that roll when you have given them strong motive or reasonable bribe, meaning this is not ever just 'cause you like me. It's,
Yeah.
you know, so in this case, the idea that, hey, if we treat you right, you might write up a positive review. of,
Right.
you know, Sundale on Yelp, you know, Forest Yelp.
Yes. Right.
But yeah, so in that case, there's some interest there. So let's see.
That would be an 11.
Okay, so on a 10 plus, they see things your way, and Mayor Reese looks and he says, "Travelogue, huh?
It's rather
Fascinating.
good.
You know, I have to say, I have always enjoyed reading depictions of other clearings, and the idea that others would read about the wonderful community that we've got here, I think that sounds like a splendid idea. I mean, I can't tell you that we have an awful lot of fascinating history here, because, of course, we're pretty peaceful around these parts, but I'm happy to show you up to what we do have in our archives upstairs. And Nomi the beaver is just, Mayor Reese, we don't even know these people. And he says, it'll be fine, Nomi.
Yeah, that beaver does
She
not like
clutches
me.
her book like protectively and glares at you, and you can see like past her arm that the book is like the big book of forest wisdom.
Was that something that would be a
Bible like, yeah.
Yeah.
okay? So it's not something uncommon.
Well, I mean, it's not something people usually carry around with them at all times.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's like
You would have
You
heard
go-
of it,
you
is
go-
the point.
yeah.
Yeah.
And she clutched the book to her head to herself, and I will show him and just give mine a little pat.
So, well,
I will
what
be
is your
respectful.
book?
It's basically my book of notes.
Okay,
It's-
well, so like it doesn't have any obvious title or anything. It's just a cover.
Well, I think it would be like kind of like a my travels kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah, so you do that and you just get nothing from her. She's not giving
Okay.
you an inch. You are strangers and that makes you bad. Period.
And
Is-
I would also
Yeah.
add comment of I will be respectful.
Hmm. And she looks up at Mayor Reese and says, I don't have time to babysit these strangers today, these vagabonds. He says, Mayor Reese says, well, that's all right. I have some paperwork to do. I can do it upstairs in case they have any questions. And she kind of whistles through her big buck teeth because she's a beaver, sort of disapprovingly. She kind of stomps off, taking fast, short steps. And in any case, Mayor Reese offers to guide you upstairs. But in the meantime, we're going to cut over to where Clem and Peppa are approaching this work site with Lancelot kind of tailing at a respectful distance. The first thing you notice, though, as you're getting close, is that out in front of the shed, this possum has arrayed several bits of strange machinery. It's very complicated with springs and gears and pistons and all sorts of bizarre contraptions. It's very complicated. There's at least half a dozen different kinds of machine that he's got clearly out as like display, and he has set up a banner that says, "Behold the latest in farming technology." And you can see that the poster that he put up on the shed is, "Do you think you can plow a furrow faster than our machine? Test your luck and win a prize tonight." Tonight at 5 p.m.
That looks intriguing.
Are you saying this to the possum, or are you still? So to finish the description of the other area, construction is underway with locals working on the house, or on this other nicer building. You can see a couple of guards standing nearby, and then in addition to the guards that are clearly guarding the site in general, you can see a cat in very fine, clothing of a style typical of Le Monde de Cat, where the Marquisate is from. And she is with them and clearly has two guards that are just devoted, apparently, to following her around. And so she is standing supervising that construction and, occasionally chatting with the guards that are by her. So that is what you see as you approach the site.
Well, I think we know who the foreman is. But immediately looks to the farming equipment. I think I have found something very interesting indeed. Clem is going to go up to the farming, going up to the opossum and his farming equipment.
Mm-hmm. Okay. He watches you approach and kind of approaches himself with to meet you with a big smile and offers out a paw to shake.
And at first, Clem doesn't notice because he's
Okay.
very much so focused on the equipment that he says, "Oh, well, hello. Did you engineer this?" Hold and takes the paw.
It's like, "Oh, well, you obviously have an eye for the best in technology. I cannot take the credit for engineering them myself, of course. This is the finest that Marquisate engineers can provide these days, But I am here, of course, to sell these marvelous pieces of technology to all the farmers who could make use of them."
He pulls down his goggles, and if you've ever seen Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, it's that scene where Rick Moranis has the little magnifiers on, so now he's just eyes look massive,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just like, "I would love to talk with the one who engineered this, but I'm sure it's a guarded secret."
Oh, well, of course, it is a guarded secret, that is true, but I also am afraid they are not here. However, I know quite a bit about these machines. I've been selling them for years. I know all about how to operate them, and I could answer any of your questions, I'm sure.
Really?
Are you in the market for something that will improve your farming output immeasurably?
Actually, I'm in the market of engineering. I think, looks at it,
Mm-hmm.
depending on how it's made, I could improve upon it. I was looking for a job. It's why I'm here.
Ah, well, you see, I am sure that you are a very skilled engineer, but this is the top of the line, the cutting, bleeding edge from the brightest minds in the Marquisate. I suspect you will find that they are the best of the best with all current technology.
I would like to. Can I inspect this?
Sure, sure. The one that he's got kind of out in front the most does I think just looking at it with your know-how, you can tell that this is something that seems to be designed to plow a furrow, right? But clearly it's got a little seat with some pedals on it that you pedal to wind up a spring, and then once the spring is released, it sort of trundles forward to plow the furrow on its own. So you can see that just from looking at it that that's kind of the design of it.
So would this take the place of a traditional plow? Because it seems that there's a rider missing.
Oh, well, it does, of course, require someone to pedal to charge it up. However, the effort expended to charge up the spring is far less than actually needed to plow it in a more traditional way, you see. So this allows the work to be done much more efficiently. And instead of our farmers working themselves to the bone day in, day out to plow, instead they have a relatively leisurely pedal. Good exercise gets the heart pumping, but does not ruin the back.
Oh, I get it. So you help them and make it easier. But if it breaks, they have to come to you.
Ah, well, exactement, my friend. But at the same time, these are sold with a guarantee. They do not break if used properly.
Oh,
And, of course, maintained according to the recommended instructions.
this intrigues me greatly. Would your foreman be able to hire me?
I beg your pardon?
The one in charge.
She is not my foreman. I apologize, you see. I am merely attaché, tag along. I accompany the mission. She, the Lady Elaine, is here to build a recruiting station, you see. I have been given dispensation to accompany and make use of her security. However, my business, so to speak, is separate, as you say.
Oh, so are you using this equipment to build this building? I'm sure you had to break ground somehow.
No, see, these are for sale. We would not want to sell used equipment to the farmers of Sundale. Of course not.
Oh, so you have a working one elsewhere?
We do have one we are going to use for the demonstration tonight.
Oh, what time? Because I would like to be here. If I'm not working,
He
I would
gestures
like
to the
see
giant poster right over his shoulder that says 5 o'clock.
that. He looks up. It's a squint, blink, blink. Oh, well, in that case, I will gladly be there if I'm not working here, because I'm pretty good at fixing tools.
Well, I suppose you will see an exciting competition, you say. In fact, spread the word. I want all of Sundell to send their toughest and their strongest to compete against our machine, and we will show that it will put all of them to the realization that they don't need to work so hard when they can have a machine like this.
You know, I've heard of a legend where someone said the same thing, and a very promising turtle won that race.
Oh, do you want to put your... He kind of looks you up and down. You want to compete with the plowing machine? I mean, you are welcome
Oh,
to try, my friend.
oh no. But their name was John Henry Ironshell, and he beat a machine. It was meant for plowing or some such. So
Well,
you should be careful.
well, you
Someone
never
might
know. I think at the very least, even if Sundell has the best furrow plower in the world to bring to competition, at the very least, we will give him a good show. And
I
more to the point, even if a denizen could possibly be the best at plowing and manage to plow faster than our machine, even then, they were very, very, very tired afterwards.
Well, hey, a good hard day's work means a good night's sleep. That's what my grandma used to say.
All right, well, I will sleep better knowing that I have plowed more furrows and been able to not break my back in the process.
Oh, indeed.
Yes.
Does it look like there's a lull in the orders being given by the cat lady?
Well, so I was going to cut, while this conversation is happening, I was going to ask what Peppa and Lancelot are getting up to.
Well, Peppa is kind of right there with Clem,
Okay.
and just kind of keeping him company. But when this conversation looks like it's going to be going on for a while, she's going to just kind of step up to the guards and say, hello, hello, I am new in town, but I am a professional courier, and I was wanting to introduce myself to the lady to see if she would like to make use of my services. Maybe not now, maybe in, whenever is available. We should be here for a few days at least. And just wanted to introduce myself.
Sure. So the two guards kind of like look at each other. One is a cat, the other is a rabbit. They kind of glance at each other and shrug. Is like, well, I mean, does not hurt to ask. And so, in the meantime, we're going to follow that in just a moment. But the
fine.
conversation with this merchant and Clem, there's enough people kind of walking by and interested in the new stuff that's happening. It's gathering a little bit of a crowd, and so when he's talking to you, Clem, he's also very much like directing his answers to, like, everybody who's watching, right? He's very much doing a salesman sort of thing. So, as the guards are going to escort Peppa to talk to the cat, are you still just watching, Lancelot?
Yeah, just there in case there's trouble.
Okay.
My I don't have a real good in with this right now, so I'm just back up.
Okay. All right. So, Peppa, as you are escorted over to speak with this cat, they introduce you and say, Lady Elaine, this is this young bird is says she is courier, and Elaine, this cat is very fancily dressed, and she just looks at you and just great big smile, and it's one of those things where, at the same time that it is a big friendly smile, it is also the big friendly smile of a cat greeting a small bird, and
Yeah, with fangs.
yeah, but I mean, she's friendly. She just has fangs. I mean, what do you want?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, she's being nice. Anyway, yeah, so she just says, well, it is so nice to meet you. Peppa, is that right?
Yes, lady.
Well, it is a pleasure to meet you. You are a courier, you say? I would like you to make a roll for me at this point.
Okay.
This is a meet an important person role. And I'm actually going to retroactively have Arban and Nigel do that for the mayor as well. But this role is, your reputation with the Marquisate is still going to be +0. But that's what, that's still how the reputation moves work. So, for this reputation move, you are meeting, where is this? Meet someone important. So you are rolling with reputation for the faction, which for you is +0.
Okay. Oh, 3.
Okay. So on a miss, you know only the basics about them, which is basically what you've heard already, which is that she's here to build a recruiting station in Sundell for the Marquisate, right? But she kind of just says, "Oh, Peppa of the famous Arnve Noodle incident, yes?
Oh, I didn't know it was a famous incident.
Oh, well, not amongst the hoi polloi, you say, but, I do have my ear to the ground sometimes, and I hear things. And I have to say, you sound like someone who enjoys a bit of trouble now and then."
Only for pleasure, never for business.
Well, I did say enjoy, did I not? So, what can I do for you, Miss Peppa?
No, I am trying to build a reputation as a professional courier with messages delivered wherever you need them to go. And I wanted to offer my services to you. Knowing that you are far from home, maybe you want to write a letter to your mom, and I can deliver it to somewhere where it can be passed on to her. I of course cannot get to Le Monde de Cat, although that would be,
You're quite some way, yes,
you know,
indeed.
it's quite a ways from that for such a small bird like me, but I can definitely
So
deliver messages.
we do sometimes have need for couriers to travel back and forth between here and Patchwood. This is something that currently we have our soldiers do when necessary, but a courier who could transmit messages more quickly could be a valuable thing. However, I wonder, what about all your friends? Are you working alone, or are you bringing all of your noodle friends with you?
I think it would depend on the urgency of the message. If it was an urgent message, then I could make better time by myself. But if it was just a regular message, then I might have a few of my friends accompany me, depending on how dangerous it was.
Well, I suppose the path from here to Patchwood is more or less dangerous, I suppose, depending on what you think of the Marcasette cat, huh?
Well, I've worked several times for the Marquisate, delivering messages.
Well, perhaps all of your troubles in Iron Vein are just down to the presence of that nasty Dutchy, yes?
Yes, that did not turn out well.
Well, and she leans in and kind of pats you on the shoulder. Between you and me, I do not like the Dutchy either. Mm-mm. So, I will tell you what. I am not in need of a courier today. But if you are in town for a little while, next time I need a courier, perhaps I look you up.
Okay. That is all I wanted. Thank you very much for making the time to speak with me, and I
but
hope
of
you have a
course.
wonderful day.
We are here to show that the Marquisate, not the big bad guys. No, we are here to help.
And Peppa will kind of bob a little curtsy and turn around and walk off.
All right. So, Clem, as you were kind of planning to, you talked about perhaps coming back for the competition. Was there anything else you were wanting to say? The merchant does, by the way, introduce himself at one point as Erwin. What was his last name? Erwin Thistledown. And
Thistledown.
yes, and I think as your conversation had slowed down a little bit, some of the people gathering started asking questions, and especially about prices. Like they were wanting to see what some of the things could do, and like what are the prices. And the prices he quotes are like high. These are expensive machines. They are specialized farm equipment that do big things, and so they're not like trivial purchases. However, it is sort of like you get the feeling from the reaction that the price is not out of line if it really does what he says it does.
Okay.
But and he says, and I apologize so much that I am not able to, as of yet, offer you the Marquisate Citizens discount. However, I do offer with each purchase a voucher that if at some point you do become a Marquisate citizen, you can get a cash rebate. Yes, you can.
Could I use cunning, or in conjunction with my repair move, to see if this thing actually works, just from how it's constructed?
I think. Well, I'll just tell you without you having to roll. You think it will work?
Okay.
Yeah. I think you are impressed with the quality of how well this thing is made. You think it would actually work. And it's a question of like, I don't know how much experience you have with seeing what a skilled person running a plow can do by themselves. versus whatever. But this machine looks like quality engineering and construction designed to do something that you suspect it would be good at doing.
Okay.
Yeah. So these
So-
are these are not like cheap pieces of junk. These seem like quality machines.
So it's not like he's a snake oil salesman. He's legitimately selling something that he believes will work, and from the construction, does
Well-
look like it would function.
So what I will let you do is there is another move that is, it's not repair, but it is figure someone out.
Oh yes.
And so if you want to try to figure this person out, you're going to roll with charm.
Ooh. I'll try that.
Mm-hmm.
And what do I roll?
So you're rolling 2d6 and then adding your charm modifier, which for you is
not
plus 0. So you just roll
Yep.
2d6.
Alrighty. Well, that's cocked. 7.
Okay, so on a 7, you basically, there's a number of questions here on this move, and there are things like, is your character telling the truth? What is your character really feeling? What does your character intend to do? What does your character wish I would do? How could I get your character to blank? And so you can ask one of those questions, and I'll answer it honestly.
Okay.
And just for reference, everyone, earlier, you can, earlier in a role-played conversation, you can say, I'm going to be having a conversation where I want to figure someone out, and we can get this, and you can hold them, and then you can ask the questions later as you think of them.
Okay. I would want to know what is what they're expecting to come of this, because if it's a legitimate, like, this will work, I want, this will help build the reputation of the Marquisate,
Mhm.
or is he just like, I can slide these off and make a lot of cash?
So it is as far as like, what does your character intend to do, maybe?
Yes. What
Okay.
does he intend to make a lot, just purely for a lot of money, or is there maybe some clout behind what he wants to do?
So I think you get the feeling talking to him that he believes in the product, but that there's also there's perhaps a political benefit to having been selected to accompany the recruiting station construction. Right?
That makes
so
sense.
So he believes that he's selling a quality product, but he believes that he is selling a quality product in a place where he's getting some political benefit from it also.
Okay, that's in my brain. That makes a lot of sense, especially with how Arban feels about the Marquisate and how they've changed their pursuits in this town.
Yeah.
First it was aggressive. Now, again, here's the honey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, with that in mind, I absolutely would like to go talk with the feline in charge,
Okay.
because obviously he's not an engineer, he's just selling, and I've not seen any engineering types running about, and Arban hasn't mentioned any, so I would like to provide my services.
All right. So Peppa, I think, has just finished talking to her, but it's not necessarily obvious to them that you two are together.
Right.
Question, because I didn't call for it. Would you have wanted a figure someone out move as well, Peppa, or?
No, I think Peppa's pretty much above board and pretty much honest. So she was approaching it from kind of that perspective, and she got what she.
Well, yeah, I think the other thing that I'll say is that although it wouldn't have been obvious that you were together, there was the fact that she recognized Peppa from a story she had heard about
Yeah.
an incident that also included Clem.
Yeah, and so Peppa would get in Clem's way and just kind of whoosh him with her feathers and say, no, abort, go.
And he kind of, it's like he kind of stretches his neck a little bit, like over your shoulder.
Peppa blocks him with a wing and just kind of flooshes it back.
Yeah, I think Elaine waves at you. Hello.
She seems nice.
Yes, she recognized us from the Iron Veil Noodle incident.
You know, I told you I needed more time with that gadget, but you guys decided it was okay. I've never seen Noodles do that before.
I know, I know. Let's hope that there are no noodles involved with the furrow machine.
Little do
No.
you know, it's noodle powered.
Oh no! All right,
You-
so Lancelot, were you're just letting them do their thing? Did you have any other?
Yeah,
I mean, I'll
kind of,
let you when you're watching this whole thing from a distance. I will let you like have that observation. You can try making some kind of a move if you want.
yeah, I, mm,
I mean,
I've
you don't
already
have to.
done a read tennis situation.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Hmm. Okay. Um, I've still got
Hmm?
some of the drink tokens left over from last night's dinner.
Okay.
And so I'm going to, around lunchtime, turn them in for a bucket of beer. They do sell beer in buckets.
I'm also just kind of laughing that I had been joking about drink tickets, but now they're real.
um, and bring it to the laborers, who are the workers there,
Hmm.
and offer to make their lunchtime a little more interesting, and like sit and talk with them while they're having lunch, I guess.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure what to use as an in with
I
them,
mean, I
but
think that it doesn't take a lot. Like, if you're waiting until it's lunchtime, that's probably a little ways away because I think the rest of you were
yeah,
the rest of those conversations were happening relatively early.
yeah. Um,
And
I
I
mean,
think you
if you want to wait
definitely
till
would.
lunch, yeah. I mean, right now they're in the
or
middle of working. They're not taking break right now. Although
yeah,
you could, for example, so I think the idea of bringing beers could be good for later in the day, but probably not right now.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
So,
and you will get the notice from Peppa that she knows who we are.
yeah. Um,
I mean, that
yeah,
doesn't have to be
I'm just
anything
not
right now.
really feeling inspired as to what I can accomplish right now.
Okay. I mean, that
Get
Um,
when
doesn't
we
have to
get
be anything
over
right this minute.
yeah.
to Lancelot, Clem will say, because now are you talking now, Nicholas? Would you be mentioning this to us when we come to you? Like you were thinking
When
about
you're
maybe
done, like done with your interaction, come back and we're exchanging information.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I still think our earlier plan is or my earlier suggestion is best. It's simple and has uh,
you know the opossum has said that they're going to do a demonstration tonight, and they're taking on all challengers to see who can outplow that machine. I think
yeah.
that's silly, but hey, legends are made from everything,
Now,
right?
based on what I've seen of this town, I'm not certain that there'll be there very many people actually interested. But I was maybe it would be worthwhile to find out, because if everyone's going to boycott it, then it's going to be
Well, didn't didn't Arbin say they met someone who was a local farmer of sorts?
well, our patron is a farmer.
Yeah. Well, but I think Arbin probably would have also told you about Murdy Calloway, who
Yes,
he
I
talked to.
definitely would have.
Yeah, but an orchard owner wouldn't be plowing furrows.
Well, there were
All their
other
Although,
stuff is
machines
up in
though.
trees.
Yeah.
Well, once the
Well-
once the orchard is planted, no. But to start an orchard, and if they were expecting more business because they've now industrialized making, juice and for ciders and things, they might need a larger plot. And Clem kind of points that out and goes, because the guy selling these, he's not wrong when he says that machinery can help. But
Yes, but it's a new thing. The people here are generally speaking not going to be very interested.
which is why I think the demonstration might be more popular than you think. Because if they're used to the old ways and they live in a slow, patient place, a little bit of spectacle goes a long way. But also, if the Marquesette's using honey, making your daily job and back breaking work easier is a real good version of honey.
Except we already know that the folks around here were not interested in a new way of pressing apples. So don't think a new way of plowing fields is going to do any better.
Well-
But if we can convince some folks that maybe the best way to show them that they're not interested is to arrive for the quote unquote spectacle and then just nobody volunteers.
Oh,
So support the people in their particular way of being in the world.
I think
And so I think what I might do is go around to the local farmers of the sort who plow fields. Orchard, someone who owns an orchard doesn't plow fields. They just don't. But I'm sure there are plenty around here who have grain of the sort where you need to do plowing periodically, and convince them the best way to react to this would be to show up for the spectacle, and then there's no spectacle.
but you know, sure,
Now,
showing solidarity in their disdain for new things is one thing. But do you think the young ones would agree? Because if they're willing to compete, this may
whose
just
side are
work
you
in our
on
favor.
there?
I'm on
Do
the
you
side,
want the Marquisate to take over here?
to be honest, if the Marquisate has this form of technology and is not willing to share, I would at least like to get a closer look. But if there's a spectacle, you know what there's not going to be? Someone in the tent we need to get into.
That is true. And so, well, another reason, like I said, to have a spectacle with no spectacle. What I'm worried will happen is that no one will show up, and then there's no event at all, and then we don't have any distraction. So yeah, I think what I am going to do today is go around to local farmers and be on their side. It's like, I have a plan. I'm sure you don't want this newfangled machine to be anyone to be involved with this, but there's a way to show them that you're not interested, and that's by showing up but refusing to engage in their challenge.
I
And
think you should work both sides. The older farmers absolutely should be the ones against the new thing.
The younger farmers are going to be the sons and daughters of the old farmers,
True,
and they're not going to be the ones who make the decisions.
as it's
When
not
it comes to
about,
something like this, you have to go to where the power is.
no, it's not about if you're in charge or not. But if you're the one having to break your back because mom and dad are too old, a new piece of equipment to help you would be a great boon. So I think that maybe because you're obviously very good at talking, I'm not, you might be able to get two sides to go into this spectacle. One side, the older generation, not willing to budge, but the younger generation, tired of being locked into tradition and hard work, getting up before the sun comes up, they might like the idea of something that would allow them to, sleep a little longer. Because I've never been mad at a nap. Naps are pretty good.
Well, having been in the convincing people business for quite some time, I found that people talk about what you say, and people check up with each other. And if I'm heard saying one thing to one group of people and another thing to something else, it's not going to be as effective. So what I'm mainly worried about is that nobody's showing up at all. Because
Well, so may I suggest one of the things that you could do before enacting another plan is to try to get a sense of what is the town's opinion about that sort of thing. Because you've certainly talked to one person who seems to be in charge and feels a certain way, but at least one other person expressed dissatisfaction with that.
That's true.
And also,
But again, okay. So yes, it's worthwhile going around finding out what the attitudes are in general. But it looks like, from what I can see, that the main attitude is going to be less interested in this.
I think the number of people you see being looky-loos and listening to Erwin the Opossum's presentation indicates people are starved for new stuff regardless. Like, it's one thing to say, I hate the Marcasate and we would never buy one of those things, but I'm sure going to go look at that new thing they've got in the square that I've never seen before.
Okay.
Right. So you're definitely seeing that at the very least, there seems to be people interested in what is that thing? I want to see it.
Lancelot, you're pretty handsome. I think the young ones would like you better than the older folks. Now,
oh, you think it's easier to seduce young people, do you?
well, obviously, there's a privilege that comes along with being pretty. Now, Arbin, on the other hand, is not a bad-looking fellow, but because his demeanor's so gruff, I think every crotchety old person who doesn't like technology would find a look of themselves in him. So we should have him go and talk with them, and you, those of the younger, more open-minded crowd. No one wants to hear about me and my enjoyment of the fact that the schematics and the workings of this will actually probably do what it says. I'm not that type of turtle.
I think actually let's take this opportunity to check back in on Nigel and Arbin. First thing I want you to do is kind of retroactively do the meet someone important role for Mayor Reese.
And this be a +0?
Yes, because he represents the Denizens faction, but you nonetheless still have +0. So here's the thing to note as you perhaps might develop higher or different reputation modifiers if, for example, the two of you each had a +1 modifier, then whoever did the roll would roll it at +2 because you add them together. But since it's 0, it's 0 plus 0, so it's still 0.
Okay, so you roll, David.
Well, I got a nice big 5.
Okay, yeah. So I think then that as you get back up at the into that archive room, he does look at you and um, he says, "So I wouldn't have said anything in front of Nomi because she just generally, she has the best interests of the clearing at heart, and sometimes that means that she feels that newcomers need to earn her trust. And so I would suggest you not mention your previous escapades here. But I think as long as you are still planning to write a positive travel log, then we can discuss business."
I've seen nothing so far to show anything but positive. Hardworking individuals
Sure,
with
sure.
honest wisdom.
Okay, so what are you like? What is it that you're looking for up here? Like, obviously, you've requested to like look at documents and that sort of thing. But what are do you have like? Are you looking to ask more questions of the mayor, or are you looking to just go through the records and leave him alone? What are you thinking?
I was wondering. I have a move called Search the Records.
Mm-hmm.
When you examine the documents, records, or assorted notes of an important NPC, roll, basically roll with cunning, find information on a hit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perhaps something that might have. Well, it'd be nice if I could. I guess I'd have to either look for something possibly related to.
Well, so you are examining the documents, records, or assorted notes of an important NPC, and you've gotten permission to do so, but he's also watching, like he's present.
Yes.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, you have a move to roll with cunning to search the records. So yeah,
Go for it.
Okay.
you are rolling with cunning.
Okay. Let me make sure I get to the right thing so I can see. I got a 10.
Okay. So on a hit, you discover evidence of their secrets. The GM will tell you who would pay for the information you've uncovered. And on a 10 plus, you also take 12 plus instead of rolling the next time you try to figure them out. So if you wanted to do a figure them out roll for the mayor, you could basically automatically get a 12 plus, which lets you ask the 3 of those questions.
Yeah.
Also, I think that what you discover here through your expertise in going through paperwork and records, you spot a fairly cleverly hidden bookkeeping, note where it's the exports and imports of various grains and what each farm is contributing and which goes out on which caravan and all of that sort of thing. And you discover first that there seems to be a so what you discover is there is clearly some kind of cache where a lot of the material, not a lot, not like a majority, but a significant amount of the output of certain types of grains and seeds from some of the farms is getting diverted and not sent out of the city, and it's being sent somewhere else. And so it's disguised in such a way that it does seem like Like it's secret, and it's intended that if someone without your like trained eye were to look through this stuff, they might not notice. You just happen to say, "Wait a minute. Didn't this form say that this farm put out this much stuff, but then here's the caravan that says it's only that much that went out?" And you find a pattern of that. And your best guess is that there is some sort of a secret cache, because it doesn't seem to be going out on any shipments. You think that someone is stockpiling in a way that they're trying to keep from being obvious in the paperwork. And you certainly know that, for example, if the Marquisate was looking to take over a clearing with some lush farmland, knowing that there's also a secret cache of potentially lots of hoarded stockpiled seeds, also be a significant, valuable asset. So if you wanted to sell that information, you know that the Marquisate would pay you for it.
Ah. Okay.
So, I mean, you might decide that you wouldn't want to, but I'm saying if you wanted someone to pay you for that information, that's who would pay you for it.
Yeah. Okay. I was thinking more like where my brain went was maybe the Marquisate knows and they were working.
Yeah. Well, I think
They're working to obtain
yeah.
that cash.
Yeah. So you don't have that information.
No.
What you have found is evidence that some percentage of certain types of exports are actually being diverted to something else that's not leaving the clearing.
Okay. Is there possibly any related use for them?
I think what you're seeing is that the material all tends to be stuff that would preserve well, like not,
Okay.
things like produce that would rot quickly does not get diverted in this way.
So it's not like, the stuff that is commonly used for alcohol or
Not
not necessarily.
Not necessarily. It seems like to your non-expert farmer eye, but still understanding basics of how certain foods work, it does seem that they're focused pretty exclusively on things that have a significant shelf life.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Perhaps. Yeah,
I
it
mean,
could be one.
it wouldn't be a very impressive stockpile if you put a bunch of spinach in there and it just rotted.
Yeah. But I mean, like, an idea just popped in my head. It's like, he's preparing in case there is further war.
Mm-hmm. Well, could be. You're not sure, but you have certainly uncovered evidence of a secret.
Yes.
All right. And I think that is perhaps a good place to draw our first session of Root RPG to close. But there's something that we do at the end of every session in this game, and that is the session moves. So when the session ends, one at a time, each person reads their drives out loud, and the players and GM discover whether the player fulfilled their drive during the session in an instance that wasn't already called out during the session. Now, we may not have any this time because this was a lot of setup stuff, but we can read through them nonetheless and see. And if you have achieved one of your drives, then you would get an advancement. Does anyone have one? I mean, we don't necessarily need to read them all if we think none of them qualify.
yeah,
but if
I
you have
mean-
any that you think maybe, let's talk about it.
This is a stretch, but there's Wanderlust, finish a journey to a clearing, and we kind of did that first thing. But
I think that because this is our first session and we really kind of began here, I think I'm not going to have that one be an advancement. I hope you understand.
So
Yeah.
the other one is
Yeah.
Thrills, escape
Mhm.
from certain death or incarceration. I think that's going to be a little later in our story.
Yeah. Wait until you're captured, then you can.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't get it if I'm captured.
Well, I mean, wait until you're captured and you escape.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So does anyone have one they think they maybe met this time? We might not. That's fine. Okay, so then the other thing that we do at the end of the session is that one at a time, each player may choose one element of their playbook to update or change. They don't have to choose anything if they don't want to, but you can replace one drive with a new drive from any playbook. You can replace your nature with a new nature from any playbook. Or you could change one of your connections if you felt like something else had occurred that made it more interesting for it to be something else. But again, since this is our first session and we've mostly just done a lot of setup, that might not be anything yet. But does anyone have something that they would want to change? Or you can also, if you think of something later, we can talk about that and before next session.
No,
I'm okay with that.
yeah, I don't
Yep.
see anything I'd want to change.
Okay.
I've found in these games it takes a couple sessions for that
yeah.
mechanic to really start going.
Right. Well, so, Vagabonds, welcome to Sundell. And we will continue your exploration of this clearing next week when we return for more Root the Role-Playing Game on so many levels.
So many levels.
Levels.
There's so many levels. I
Yeah.
can't wait to explore them.